Hey everybody, it's Sonjdradeluxe. Can I go to hell? Yeah! Yeah. So I released the video Stop Aging Yourself with Makeup, basically on how to update your makeup routine, and I got a really good comment from someone asking to do a makeup video for beginners. And even if you're not a beginner, what I'm hoping to do in this video is unlock your blind spots with makeup. Maybe some things you've been stuck with doing that you might want to move past or elevate your makeup look. As an example, maybe you say you hate Brussels sprouts and you only grew up eating them boiled and you're like, I'm never eating Brussels sprouts again, and then maybe you go to a fine dining restaurant and they grilled them, put a nice vinaigrette, and they add different textures, and then you're like, wow, Brussels sprouts are amazing. Same thing with makeup. Blush doesn't look good on me. I can't do my eyebrows. I don't know how to do eyeliner. I'm going to show you how to move past those things in makeup so that you can make it work for yourself. I'm going to show you how you can execute a look without messing it up, especially if you're not particularly great with makeup. I really believe anyone could do anything and anyone can wear anything. So I'm going to show you how to make it easy on yourself and just go through some makeup basics. I'm going to kind of run through each step and I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison quickly. And if you guys want me to spend a little bit more time on a certain area like skin, brows, lips, whatever, I'll be in the comments looking and I can do a specific video dedicated to that. So starting off, this is something that could definitely be its own video. Skin prep. I think that we all kind of know that what you do to your skin will ultimately affect your makeup. It'll also affect the longevity, the color. For example, if you have oily skin and you're adding powder, you might want to go a few shades lighter because it will darken on your skin. Just like if you put hose on concrete, you'll see dark marks because the water is wet and the concrete looks darker where you put the water on. Usually adding wet to something dry makes it look darker. Or let's say you are super dry and you are trying to use something darker. Typically the color or the pigment or the dark foundation will stick to the dry patches and disappear everywhere else, making it look patchy. So there's a lot of balance to understand. Again, I can get into that a little bit deeper in another video, but one thing I will say is skin prep is very important. Ultimately, you want to find things that work for your skin. Skincare can either be something that really aids you in your makeup or it could totally make your makeup look garbage. So I'm going to try and say things throughout the video that can either help you or not. So let's get started. If you're super clueless about makeup and you had to choose something, I would say either pick powder foundation for oily skin, just a concealer for dry skin. I have two concealers here. One is more of a yellow undertone and one of them is a little bit warmer or more neutral like my skin. I have darker under eyes. If you are medium to deeper skin tone, you probably want to use something that's a warm undertone, maybe a little bit more peachy. If you're quite fair and you're having more like of a red under eye or blue under eye, you probably want to use something cooler like a yellow tone. But if we're doing a natural makeup, I'm just going to show you this beauty blender one is very nice for people who don't want to wear a ton of makeup and maybe you don't know that much about makeup. I feel like it blends into the skin more seamlessly because it is buildable coverage, but I feel like it's the most undetectable. This Pat McGrath concealer I absolutely love. I'll even use it if I want to like skip steps and make my foundation more coverage. I'll put it in my T-zone, but this is not my shade. It is more yellow, as you can see. Both amazing products, but I'm just going to show you the difference in color and in application. So this is the more peachy toned one, and I'm just going to conceal underneath my eye. When you're trying to play with or learn about makeup, it's best not to create too many shapes and make it harder on yourself. It's best to just conceal and perfect what you've already got. I also highly recommend, if you're doing a natural look, try and do it with your fingers because I think it's very important to get to know the shape of your face, which I'll get into a little bit later. So this is just strictly if I was doing like a natural look. Just like that, it looks like I have foundation. My skin is perfected. Like it is natural, but it's a good place to start if you're unsure of how to do makeup. A lot of beauty gurus will do concealer, bronzer, highlight, contour, whatever. And it's just too many steps. And the more you put on, the more you have to put on for it to look balanced. A good example would be, I don't know if you knew eyebrows on fleek era where people were just having these really intense Instagram eyebrows and like nothing on their face. It looked ridiculous. But when you have really intense eyebrows and then you have intense eyes, intense skin application, contouring, it all kind of melts seamlessly into each other. So I think that if you're going to do less, like maybe you're new to makeup, then do less. Even now, if I were to put a really intense eyelash on, it'd probably look a little bit crazy. So I have a little bit of color correcting, but not full color correcting on my skin, just a little bit with a little bit of a peachier undertone. Again, similar coverage, different texture of foundation. This one's more yellow, and you can kind of tell your undertone tone if it's close to your skin tone but very visible that it is a different color. Same thing, I'm gonna give it a finger blend. This one's just a little bit more coverage, and like I was saying to you before, more isn't always more. Okay, and another thing too, if you're new to makeup and you're picking and choosing the things that you want from what you learn online, maybe it isn't that. Maybe you want a brighter under eye or whatever, something, little bits and pieces that you're taking from a makeup tutorial. This, even though they're kind of the same tone, one's not really lighter than the other, one's just more red, one's more yellow. This concealer I would do if I was doing full glam because it is brightening it up, but now my arm is a different tone than my face, whereas this one kind of melts in a little bit more even though it is lighter. But up close, even though you can kind of see a little bit of my under eye circle color, this one's almost taking on a bit of a gray tone because this is more yellow, and this seems to just blend in a little bit. Even though you can still see it, it just makes more sense. It's not magnifying something I'm trying to conceal. It is kind of blending in, like you wouldn't know that I had anything on here. And if you're oily, think of the same thing but maybe with a powder foundation, and I wouldn't put it all over, especially if you don't know what you're doing with foundation or if you feel like foundation doesn't look good on you. The color will make a huge difference. So again, a little bit of peach. This is sheer in coverage, but my under eye kind of looks better here even though it is darker than it does on this side. Another thing I just want to go over in case you didn't see the last video is placement of blush. And again, okay, NARS, expensive, beautiful. I use this in that video as well. I like to reuse products because like get your money's worth, you know. You'd be surprised at how pigmented lighter blushes can look on you. So let's say you want to have this like rosy glow. I think if you're maybe not sure of how colors work or makeup works on your skin tone, I think it's good to go for a color that you want. Like let's say this is what you want your cheeks to look like. Like I said before, anything that touches oil that's powder is going to deepen on your skin tone, or just anything in general. This is not really a natural skin shade, so it will look very extra. Try colors that are almost in between the color that you want and the color that your skin is. So this has got a little bit of like skin tone mixed into it. You can darken it up later, but I think if you're just playing around with blush, it's good to go with something that's kind of in between, so you're almost making your own transition shade. So again, one thing my mom said to me that was really cool is she said, I do the thing where I put blush on the apples of my cheeks because that's where blush goes. And I was thinking that's so funny because that's such a thing with so much makeup trends, or how we're taught makeup is we put eyeliner right here on your lash line because that's where it goes. I put lipstick just on my lip line because that's where it goes. But if you're wanting to tell a story or create a shape, it's so important to think about the look that you're going for. Like I said before, I like to lift everything so I look more awake. So I like to put it on the tops of my cheeks. And again, this is like a very natural makeup look because I think if you're just learning, it's better to kind of keep it conservative when applying products rather than trying something crazy and bold and then feeling discouraged like you can't do it. Play around with neutral, muted things and then move on to the bolder stuff later. So again, I'm lifting everything, warming up my cheeks. I also love blush in the crease of my eye just to carry through that rosiness. Everything is lifted, it looks nice. I'll use the same color, so again, that's kind of more obvious, and I'm just gonna do apples of my cheeks. How we were taught in magazines to do our blush. Circular motion, and it's just not giving me a cohesive look or pulling it all together the way that this does. And this is the thing that I was saying, when you add something, you want to kind of follow through and make it look like it's all blended together. When you add something, you kind of have to add more of other things for it to look blended. I only put blush here and it looks like I'm wearing way more makeup on this side than this side. You can't tell I'm wearing blush, but I have tickle me pink type of look to me. You can see where I started, you can see where I stopped. This one, you just get an overall blush look. Depending on what your skin type is, if you're using powder, definitely do this before you use your powder. If you're using cream, it's okay to do it on top. Some people will even do this and then do their concealer over top of it to have that kind of blush from within look. But keep in mind, like, powders and creams don't really mix, so it's good to let your creams or whatever dry before you move on to the next thing. The only place where I feel like this really helps you is if you're doing your eyebrows and you're using powder. Having a little bit of your cream or wet foundation still in your brows will actually help you make the powder look darker, if that's what you want. But if you are totally powdered in the brow, it's very dry, and then you try and go in with like a powder, it might not stick as well. Alternatively, if you're using pencils or those little wind up stick things to do your brows, if it's wet, it's not going to stick because it's kind of like a semi cream with a cream. It's just going to water it down. So if you're doing more pencils or crayons or whatever for your brow, try and have it as dry as possible so it can really show up. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of these type of products because I do my makeup with my hands and I get my foundation all in my brows and they never work for me. So I'm just going to show you the difference of how I can make myself love this product. I'm going to put a little bit of moisturizer in this brow because we didn't do foundation today. This brow I'm going to slightly powder, just lightly. I'm going to comb both sides up. And I think if you're not used to makeup or you're not great at it, try not to create too much of a shape with brows far off from your natural look because it can look a little bit crazy. But a good rule of thumb, do not do your eyebrows with a surprise face, because when you relax, that'll definitely give you the spermy brow look. Good to have a very relaxed face. It's good to kind of keep this part lifted and as straight as possible. And instead of trying to create a brand new shape, unless you have no brows, which again, I can do a whole video on that, I would try and look for, when you comb it up, what's missing here. So I can kind of see there's a few gaps here. And this is the powdered brow. And I'm not gonna do hairlight strokes. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I'm literally just trying to fill in any gaps that I have, not trying to create a new shape. Already just that makes a huge difference. I'm gonna comb it down, seeing where I have any gaps right here. Already looks much better, and right under here. And when I'm doing a natural look, I like to extend it just a bit in a lifted way instead of trying to pull it down. When you're doing your brows as well, like if you have dark brow hair, it's good to go a shade or two lighter because again, creating that transition shade for your skin and the product. I have black eyebrow hairs, and if I went in with black, it would look kind of crazy. So I like to go a little bit lighter so it almost creates a shadow as if I do have hair that's growing there, and then just lifting it a little bit on the end. For people, this could look different as well. Like maybe you don't want to lift it on the end, but the whole time I'm doing this, I'm doing it with a straight brow. Because if I do it with my face like this, it's gonna look crazy when my face is relaxed because we don't walk around like this. So this side, like I said, I don't like these because of the way that I do my foundation. They don't work. Right now, the way that this looks, it looks nice because I prepped the skin with a little bit of powder. So it's dry, it has something to stick to. This side has the little bit of moisturizer in it. So I'm gonna comb it. Again, I'm gonna look for any gaps. I'm gonna do this one with a surprise face, fill in the gaps. It's not really sticking the same. I'm gonna try and make a bit of a shape, make this more straight because we want it to fill in the gaps a little bit. And I'm gonna pull this down as an extender. And I wanna bring this in a little closer. And I'm only following where my hair actually grows, just like how I did on the other side, but I'm not really regarding the shape that I want to create, which is lifted. This is quite obvious that I've done my eyebrow, like filled it in. You can see the spots where I've started, where I've stopped. Not brushing the hair in the direction, I'm just kind of following what's already there. And it leads for a much more visible kind of eyebrow look, which I don't mind. Like I'm totally a fan of dark brows, but because this color that I'm using, you can just kind of see the difference on each side. Filling in things because that's how I think eyebrows should be. Have a nice arch, have them fuller. Whereas this side I use lighter strokes, it's sticking well. It just kind of gives a lifted, natural kind of look. This side looks good when my face is surprised, but when I relax, it looks a little spermy vibes. Again, if you want a full how to make your eyebrows work for you video, I can totally do that. Going back to just adding eyeliner on your eyes because that's where it goes, and maybe you want a wing liner look, I highly recommend starting with a pencil. You have a lot more room to move rather than just going in with a liquid liner. This is my favorite liquid eyeliner pretty much. One Size Beauty one is great, the Fenty Beauty one, the Pat McGrath, they're all great. But it depends on how confident I'm feeling for doing the look. So I'm gonna do two, the same thing, one with a waterproof eyeliner, and like I said, if it's waterproof or water resistant, whatever, and you're trying to smudge it or make it work for you, you're gonna have a lot harder of a time. It's better to just master it with a pencil that you can smudge and blend and fix and correct to give you the same look. So on this side, what I like to do is your eye, you see how it kind of like turns down? I like to imagine a line from the bottom lash line, but I also wanted to kind of come to a point with my eyebrow, thinking let's just do a line here, line here. We wanted to angle up like that because that's the way that my eyebrows are. I've seen lots of beautiful downturned eyeliner, or you know, if you're trying to create a certain look, but just this, having it be the most flattering for your face, is to look at your eyebrow as kind of the window to get that done. So what I like to do is always start with the wing and see if it matches in the same direction that my eyebrow does if they were to meet and have a little tea party. And then I like to fill it in lightly This is a non-waterproof pencil. This is the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil. And let's say you do that and you make a mistake, you could just wipe it like this because it's not waterproof. Just adding a little bit of a lift. Having the wing liner effect without the pressure of having it perfect with a waterproof long wear eyeliner. And as you can see, I haven't moved my face, pulled, stretched. If you need to, after your shape is already put in, you can do that. But I like to put in my shape when my face is relaxed, because that's how I greet people. And I like to give kind of an infinity line. So we have a wing line without having to do too much. It takes the intimidation away of it being perfect. Eyeliner is also a personal journey. Some people like the paintbrush type of applicators. Some people like the marker. I'm personally a fan of the marker because you can drag it, but when it is long wearing, it makes it very hard to try and correct after. Some of them, because they have almost like a rubbery quality to them, will kind of roll up into itself and then kind of flake off. And if you're trying to learn eyeliner, that is not a very forgiving environment to learn it. So this side, like I said, I'm just gonna do what my mom said, put eyeliner on my eye because that's where it goes. Again, not doing a bad job, just doing what we're supposed to do. And let's say you want a wing because you're going for a winged eyeliner look, and instead of looking what might suit your face, let's just do this. And then we're gonna make it look smooth while my eyes closed. Then we're gonna rub it because maybe we made a little mistake. Then we're like, oh no, we wanted a wing, so let's bring that wing up. Like this. Maybe we want a dramatic. We're gonna make it thicker so we can make it match. While this doesn't look bad, it doesn't really match or look good on my face shape. Stopped filming for a second, sorry. But I was just saying that I think this is a great brush to invest in. It is either a MAC 242 or a Anastasia concealer brush. I think it's number 18. And I'm just kind of cleaning up the line that we did. And this is a very good example of how you want to convey a look like bold wing liner or a wing, but you're not doing all the other steps to keep it balanced. This looks more balanced. I have a wing complementing my eye. This is kind of weighing me down a little bit, and it is harder to try and clean up and perfect because it is waterproof and I let it dry. Now again, this does, I mean, it's not bad, and I will never insult somebody by trying to do a terrible job on something to show, oh, you're doing it really bad like this, let me show you how to fix it. No, it's like honest mistakes. Like, okay, we're using a wing, and if you can see, as I'm trying to correct it with the liner, instead of it kind of taking it off, it more so just goes on top of it and makes it gray, like it's not actually coming off. Where on this side I could totally clean it up and snatch it and it looks really nice. But that's what a long wear product does. When you're more confident in your eyeliner abilities, I think totally go for it and do it while your eyeliner is still wet. It'll look really good. But this is just very hard to correct at this point. I'm still getting the winged eyeliner look. It could be more of a dramatic look, but this is just not really doing anything for my face aesthetically, unless you're doing like a Julia Fox, like totally crazy eyeliner look, which I think requires some makeup skill. Like, you're probably not gonna be like, I don't know how to make it, I'm gonna give myself two crazy intense black eye looks. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But this is more for people looking for a technical side of makeup. And then again, if you want to fix it, it's just getting a little bit more muddy and it's not really doing anything for me. Another thing too, a lot of people use makeup remover and like a Q-tip to clean up their makeup. Concealer is the best makeup eraser because it doesn't take your makeup off fully. So let's say you did your foundation or whatever, then you want to clean it up with some makeup remover. It's actually better to use a little bit of concealer because it'll lift the product off and deposit a little bit of the concealer behind so that you're not leaving a patch of no skincare, no foundation, no anything on your face. So concealer, I think, is the best makeup eraser in my opinion. Again, everyone has their own opinions, so you make that call on your own. I'm also just gonna take a little bit, go underneath my brow, shape it up a little bit like that. And look how lifted that looks. Like, that's not a natural brow by any means, but look how much cleaner it looks versus the other side. Just with filling in the gaps, it looks like kind of a well-balanced brow. A lot of times when I'm doing my brows like this too, I will keep my brow product close by so that I can add a little bit more if I need to. Placement, color, intensity makes a huge difference. Another thing that's good to have but not totally necessary is a brow gel. This is the Anastasia brow gel, and it'll just kind of keep your brows in place for the whole day. A lot of times, like if your brows come out of place like that, this is just what the brow gel is combing it into place. It can show gaps and stuff that weren't there before. So even though this isn't like the most flattering brow shape for me, I'll comb it into a place that is flattering. So even if you are doing it in a non-flattering way, it still looks its best. And of course, you don't need to take it out this far or lift your brows brows this much. I'm just working with my own personal face shape. Now I want to invite you to get to know your face quite well and feel where your bone structure is. Really look at what's hitting the light, what's not, how your face moves with the light. So in terms of bronzing and contouring, typically I'm just gonna do one, because if you're absolutely brand new to makeup, I like to do bronzing because you can kind of knock two birds with one stone. And I like to really feel where the hollows of the cheeks are, what goes in, what goes back, what sticks forward. So with that in mind, I like to use a very big brush. And if you want to lift your cheekbones, you want to go a little bit higher and really hug the bottom. So the bottom of the brush will add more product because it is more compact, and the more dense a brush is, the more product it'll add. And the more fluffy a brush is, the less product it will add. So I like to use that as kind of a guide to start my contouring or bronzing process. Because I've done kind of like a light makeup on this side, I'm gonna go quite light. Again, I like to go past where I want it to be, always starting where you want the most product. And I'm going a little bit on my cheekbone. That's where I want the bottom of the thing to be, right on my cheekbone. If you go right into your hollows, like here, totally different face shape. It's quite low. Again, making a face to get your desired makeup look isn't always helpful. It just gives a very heavy and low kind of face look. Whereas this one, where I'm feeling with the barrel of my brush where the bottom of my cheekbone is, I can kind of let that bronzer kind of dance on that area. And I'll even like just kind of wipe some away up to the top of my ear, which is where my brows, eyeliner, everything comes to. But totally lifted different sides of face just by not making a face, but by doing stuff by feeling. Same thing with your nose. Like I like to, if I'm doing a natural look, if I'm not quite confident in my makeup skills, I'll just kind of dust it on using the very tip, letting this part find where the contours are and where the highlights are. Very lightly. Bronzer is also really great in the crease. Highlighter is another tricky thing, and same thing with shimmery eyeshadows. Anything that's light will deflect the light and kind of make it more pronounced. So putting like a shimmer in your crease isn't really going to do anything for you in terms of contouring. Same thing if you have a bronzer that's shimmery and you're putting it in the hollows of your cheeks. It's going to deflect the light and just totally take away the purpose of contouring. You want to add satin or matte shades. I prefer satin because it reflects light the same way skin does. Skin is not really matte looking. It doesn't look like powder. There is a slight sheen to it. So anything that mimics the same texture that skin has, I'm all for it. Especially with contour products, this is a little bit more forgiving, but I don't really like contouring with anything shimmery. I don't like putting shimmer in the crease of my eye. So these two shades are right next to each other. One is shimmery, one is matte, and I'm going to show you the difference starting with the matte part. And I'm going to lightly put it into my crease. And as you can see, it's added quite a bit of shadow, a little bit of depth, heaviness. I'm going to do the same thing in the crease with a shimmery shade. Oh, this is not the best palette to do it with because her shadows are so like 5-dimensional. That actually looks very nice. But as you can see, I should have just used a 1-dimensional shadow. I'm gonna go in with this lighter color here because this one, it has the depth. Same brush, light in the crease. It's very hard to make a point with the Pat McGrath shadows. But yeah, as you can see, it just kind of looks a little puffy or dusty or whatever. This side looks a little bit brighter. I'll take that same crease shadow I just put over there, the light one, and just put it on the part that comes forward where my eyeball is, letting it sink in because that'll tell me exactly where to highlight. This just looks a little bit messy, whereas this is giving more of a cohesive look. So even though you like a color with eyeshadow, maybe think about the placement. Is it reflective? Maybe put it on a part that sticks out. Is it more of a shadow and more matte? Maybe put it in a place that sinks in, stands out, sinks in, stands out. And that'll just make your makeup kind of make sense. And like I said, all of this is just conditional based on if you're going for like an avant-garde look where you just want to make a statement, then do whatever you want. I'm just talking about how to complement your face. If you're clueless about makeup and you're not ready to take those steps to be extra with it, you know what I mean? Now with mascara, this is one of the only things where if you're new to makeup, I would recommend, yeah, use a waterproof mascara if that's what you need. Same with lips. Use a waterproof lip if you feel like that's what you need. But everything else, I'd use more blendable products so that you have more room to play around with it. Again, I'm gonna do my eyeliner, mascara. For me, I don't have a ton of lashes. Sometimes loading on as much as you can isn't always the vibe, especially keeping it heavy on the inner corners and heavy on the underneath. And I'm just trying to load it up as much as I can. That's what you do with mascara, it goes on your lashes. With this side, I'm going to fan it out. Most of the product that I want is going to be on the the outer part. So that's where I'm going to concentrate most of my attention, not keeping it thick and chunky all the way through. And if you're trying to fan it out to have more of like a cat eye look, think about lifting. Same thing with the bottom. I just want to paint my lashes black, and I'm going to swipe it to the side so it gives more of like a lifted look. Adding on a little bit more. If you just add mascara on top of wet mascara, it's just going to slip off. Allowing it to dry, alternating eyes is a great way to let it dry and build on top of the dry mascara. Because you can't really build on top of wet, slippery mascara. But you see the heaviness, you see the not heaviness. Anyways, so this is our look. Again, like not doing a bad job on either side, but just showing how placement can kind of affect how you're doing makeup or the price of your makeup. Thinking about color combos, thinking about the effect that you want to give rather than the making a statement with something. So these are just some tips to get you out of your blocks if you want to enhance your makeup skills or anything like that. I'm not going to do lips today because I'm not much of a lip person, and I think we covered a lot. I don't want to overwhelm you with information, but I think we got a really nice like look for a beginner. We didn't do foundation, we didn't do like all this color correcting, contoured, but as you can see, this side looks much more complementing and lifted than this side does. If you want to see more videos like this, like let me know, and if there's anything specific that you really want me to dive deep and talk to you about, like color matching or how you want your makeup to look, anything, let me know in the comments. I just wanted to go a little bit deeper and speak as beginners on how to kind of elevate or get through your makeup look without it being too overwhelming, if that makes sense. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and follow. Love yourself, stay pretty, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you soon.